the issue of the strike is on. I mean, the organized labor called for a warning strike after the 14-day ultimatum given to the federal government to announce a new minimum wage expired without or concrete response from the federal government. The Minister of Labor and Employment, Chris Ngige, who is, yes, the Minister of Labor and who handles these kinds of matters, did mention that Labor's letter didn't actually get to him. And so he was requesting for a meeting with that same letter containing the request and the issue of the ultimatum, and all of those would eventually get to him. Now, the strike, warning strike it is on in most parts of the country. The past few days, we've brought you a report about how it's going down in certain sectors. We brought you a report about the judiciary, yes, the law courts, because nothing is going on there. The hospitals, yes, those who've sworn to the oath, the doctors, some of them are still around to attend to emergency matters because they believe that they cannot just live, lives and just say they're on strike and then allow people to die deaths that are preventable. How effective is it at your end? What actually is or are the labor, the demands of the organized labor? What is the response of government? How do we get to a point where we do not have to rely on strikes to make our voices heard and to make responses come from the authorities? These are some of the issues we will be looking at today as we talk about workers' welfare matters arising. Oluwasejibomi Akinsoyinu, a legal practitioner, is still with me in the studio. Good to have you again.
Thank you.
All right, the workers' strike is on. In general, let's talk about workers' welfare because Labour says it's fighting for workers, and that's the reason the strike is on. So
it's quite unfortunate this strike came at a very, very wrong time.
Wrong time?
Yes.
What makes it wrong?
If the strike is not fully effective, let me just use that language, because there is transportation. The NURTW or the retrain has not joined them in the strike, and it's effective in a way that some hospitals are not functioning, except private hospitals. But for what we're hearing now, Ayuba Wabab said, and I quote, that both the public and the private sector should join hands in this strike. Now, the reason for this strike, I stand to be corrected, is because the federal government has refused to convey the tripartite committee on minimum wage. Now, this minimum wage is what they want to increase from 18 to 50. Let's face reality. In Ekiti State, in Oyo State, and Osun State, where the election was just won by Oyetola, the minimum wage of 18,000 is not being paid. It's being owed for more than a year. To be precise, 18 months, or if not more or less. Now, in Ekiti State and Osun State, precisely, they are finding it difficult to pay the minimum wage of just 18,000 naira. And now NLC is going to strike because of the refusal of the government to convey a tripartite committee on a minimum wage to be increased from 18 to 50,000. If somebody or a body or a corporate body or a government body cannot pay 18,000 minimum wage, how can they now pay 50,000 minimum wage? They are owing in arrears. That aside, on one side. On the other side, we have the Paris Fund that was meant partly to pay some of these wages off. They are not paying the wages off. We are talking about the issue of Benue State, where salaries are being owned. We are talking about the issue of Ekiti State, where salaries are being owned. Even in Benue State, it's sad to say that they are asking for the governor or the government to refund back the Paris Fund given to them. That aside, I don't know, that's for political reasons. I won't go into that. But let's start with Osun State, where salaries are being owned, and where just some few days to the 22nd of September election, part of the salaries were allegedly paid. Not all. Now, why wait till when the election took place to pay the salary? You are finding it difficult. What I'm saying here is they are finding it difficult to pay the minimum wage of the 18,000 naira. Now, NLC is going on strike for that same 18,000 naira to be increased to 50,000 naira. How realistic is that?
But if you look at it from another angle, yes, some states are unable to pay the 18,000 or they haven't paid Because for some, it might not necessarily be that they do not have the funds. Perhaps it was
Only
just
a very few
before.
states, like Lagos State, for example, now. Lagos State has the capacity to pay, because of their revenue drive, to pay the minimum wage of even 70,000 naira.
Right. So the point I'm driving at is this: if you consider that this 18,000 naira
Yes.
is actually not enough to take-home pay,
I
wouldn't
know,
you think that Labour should?
I know that the 18,000 naira minimum wage is nothing to write home about. I'm saying that on air. It's nothing. It can't even take you to the bus stop. It can't take you home. It can't take you in. But yet, the government are finding it difficult to pay. The 18,000 naira that is not even able to even take you to your doorstep. It can't take you to the bus stop. It can't take you home. It can't take you anywhere. Let's be realistic. Let's be factual. But the government are finding it difficult to pay. They are owing. And yet, there's supposed to be an increase. They want an increase. They are working. There's a committee on ground, a tripartite committee on the increase of the minimum wage on all national salaries and what have you, from 18,000 naira to 50,000 naira. How are they going to work this out?
What would you have suggested to organized labor?
Number one, the issue of the increase has been delayed. This also has been done way back 2016 or 17. There ought to have been the increase way back in 2016 or 17, not just now. They are fighting for it.
But there was a time this matter was raised. Yes, government promises.
Yes, there were government
would
promises.
Set this up,
but
will
government
put this in place.
Failed to honor those promises for one reasons known to them. The APC-led government by Buhari said that they met a depleted purse, and they are finding it difficult because in 2015, so much money was spent on election to usher in a new government.
Another election year is approaching.
And another election is approaching. I don't want to think, because there was an allegation that the amount dug in for the election in 2019, the whooping sum, if every single Nigerian were paid out of that money, every single Nigerian will walk home confidently with 1 million naira. When I mean every single Nigerian, I mean 190 million Nigerians will walk home each with 1 million naira. Each confidently in their bank accounts, if we go by the remitter payments and what have you, or the TSS, Treasury Single Account. Why spend so much money on election? Why not pay workers their wages? You are finding it difficult to pay a worker who is earning 18,000 naira minimum wage, and you want an Nlc on the other side are saying, fine, the money is not enough to take us home or take us to the next bus stop or take us out of our house. We want it increased to 50,000 naira. How realistic is that? I am thinking that NSC, fine, they should continue fighting this fight, but they should look at where two elephants fight. The grass. When I mean the grass, the masses will suffer. Let me give you an example. The strike is on. We have our public hospitals. What if somebody is on the deathbed or is losing blood? Would they say, okay, because of the strike, that person should die? Or millions should die in the hospitals? Or if somebody is in labor and he wants to give birth and the strike is on, should that person die in his labor pains because you want your minimum wage increase from 18,000 naira to 50,000 naira? Look, there should be sincerity of purpose on both sides, not just the government. Government in sincerity of increasing the minimum wage from 18,000 to 50,000 naira and get it done as soon as possible and forget about the whole issue. And on the side of NSC, they should also make plans that come. We are going on strike. We are the ones that will suffer. They, the politicians, they are there. They are enjoying. They are increasing their own wages and enjoying their own money. But we should do like, if we go on this strike, we should look at it from one point of angle. We want the minimum wage to be this. Yes, I agree. I'm in support of that increase, but people should not suffer. I just heard a story now on the air now. Somebody was in hospital and he was the doctor was saying that if the person is losing blood and they're on strike, they will try their best to save the person's life. That's a good doctor. Not that, oh, we're on strike, I fold my hands and watch that person die. That person could be the daughter of a politician. Fine, let him die because he's a politician. Or could even be a daughter of a worker.
Would you?
Yes.
But one thing is, would you actually have the daughter of a politician in one of our hospitals. That's another thing, because some workers say perhaps the reason our facilities aren't in proper shape is that most of our politicians do not even use them.
Yes, it is the masses, the same masses that we are fighting for. Out of those masses, we have civil servants, and out of those civil servants, that part of them are part of those people that are workers who have the minimum wage of 18,000 naira that we're fighting for, who are in those hospitals that are on strike. How do you marry that with what is going on? You are going on strike. The masses are the ones using the hospitals, using the filling stations, using the schools, using the banks to go and withdraw the same money to go and take care of their loved ones. And you're going on strike. The hospitals are not working. The banks are not working. The filling stations are not working. Private and public sector are not working. Where will you see money to take care of yourself in the face of danger? What happens? Will that, if you have a responsive government, immediately the strike took place on that same Wednesday, Thursday morning, there will be an announcement from Chris Ngige, the Minister of Labour, that we have resolved the issue, we have worked on it, we have approved, and by Monday, the 1st of October, your salaries will be increased. That's the information.
And Labour also is interested in knowing what the figure is.
Yes, it will be increased, and they should match their words or their promises with action. Because my late dad told me, a promise is a debt. And once a promise is a debt, you must pay that debt. You now become a debtor. As it stands now, the federal government, they are debtors. And the creditors are the NLC, the workers in every sector, both Jansun and all other places. They are the ones who are suffering. We can't have a divide where somebody on one side is enjoying affluence, wealth, everything, because you are in power, and you have the masses that are suffering.
There seems to be a huge gap, a very deep gulf between the haves and the have-nots.
Yes, and that gap, I don't see it in the next future being breached. By increasing the minimum wage from 18 to 50. And yet at the 18...
But it's not even sure it would be 50. Yes, Labour is looking at 50, 56, but they're supposed to reach an agreement.
Precise.
So it means that, yes, the government might not actually agree to that whole 56 or 57. So it might be somewhere in between.
Like 35, no. Let me tell you something here right now on air. That 50,000 naira, I'm not trying to make somebody feel emotional about it. I don't want someone to cry about this. The 50,000 naira minimum wage that NLC is asking for is still not enough to take the common worker home. You can take it in the Boston, yes, I can agree with that, but it's not enough because the prices of commodities out there, they are not going down. I can tell you that. I can guarantee you that by 2019, the price of commodities will go up, both rents, food, housing, they will all go up. And our economy is still on life support. It is not standing on its feet. It may be out of coma, yes, the economy may be breathing, because as it stands now, with the way the strike is going, if the strike becomes full-blown, we'll head back into recession, the abyss of recession. And that will not be good for Nigeria. Before the Buhari regime, we had the Yaradua and even Obasanjo, Yaradua, Jonathan and Jonathan's regime. Now, such issues came up. There was Nlc strike during Jonathan's regime. I stand to be corrected, not less than 4 times. One was on the issue of the fuel. In short, I think majorly was on the issue of either the fuel crisis or the ASU crisis in the university. None was ever on the issue of minimum wage. The issue of minimum wage was kept at the background. Other issues that were more burning then was the fuel issue and the issue of ASU, the universities. Those were the two that were on the front burner during the Jonathan's regime. I think during Obasanjo's regime was majorly on the ASU strike and then give or take the fuel increase. None again was on the issue of the minimum wage. Why is it now that the minimum wage is coming up now. Why hasn't the minimum wage? It may have been coming up, but under different guises. But it's good now that the Nlc strike is on the minimum wage. But will it be why did I was even asking myself a question? Let me ask myself this question: why didn't the minimum wage issue come up during the Jonathan's regime, when the economy was still a bit stable, not shaky? Before the election, let's say 2012 to be precise. I am dotting on 2012 because the economy was still better then. Fuel price was not on the high side. Commodities were still then the issue of Nlc, the time why I said the time was ill-fated, that if it had come up then, I'm sure the minimum wage would have been 50,000 by now. The Nlc waited too long to bring up the issue of the minimum wage.
Now, there are different matters some analysts have raised. Yes, some talk about the sincerity of the organized labor in this, talk about the sincerity of the government also in this. And then they also ask, is this the most effective strategy that labor is employing? Is it about national minimum wage or about living wage? What if, yes, people are earning 50,000 naira and the economy remains the way it is and it still cannot get anything done?
Whether it's the national minimum wage or whichever angle is taken, it's about both. It's not just about a minimum wage of 18,000 naira. Like I said, even the 50,000 naira can't take somebody home. Let's be realistic. Let us break down that wage itself. You are saying minimum wage, that there's the lowest cadre should earn. What would the highest cadre earn? If the government is finding it difficult to pay the minimum wage of 18,000 naira, how will they pay that of 50?
What then should labor do? Labor speaks for the people.
Labor is going on strike to twist the government
into
subjecting to their demands, which that's the only way.
You think that's okay?
I stand to be corrected. As way back as 2003, we're in 2018. That's almost like 15 years back. Strike has been the order of the day for the government to agree to the demands of its people, to the masses. In 2003, we had an ASU strike for 6 months. From 2003 and down to 2018.
We still had that in 2013.
Yes. 2003 down to 2018, we've had a minimum of not less than 30 strikes. I'm not exaggerating. Start counting them. 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007. I'm not.
Now that we're here, October 1st is Monday.
There are different kinds of strike. Like I said, we had the first strike.
We had
the ASU strike. That we're even playing competition between themselves. Who should take, who should score more, have more scores. It's like a football match between the ASU strike and the Fuel High strike. But on each of those cases, when the NLC come up with their own strike, maybe I was not hearing very well. Maybe I wasn't hearing very well. I failed to hear the issue of the minimum wage. When was this 18,000 minimum wage approved? When was it approved? And why is it that we did not start this battle as far back as the 1st of January 2018 to have this minimum wage increased? That would have been a good time. Oh yes, we can say we're in recession, but who cares? Let's start fighting that battle now.